to another episode of Bitcoin in Asia from Bitcoin Magazine. I'm John Riggins, and our guest this week is Koji Higashi, a longtime Bitcoiner, and really a much sought after and followed industry expert in Japan. He's helped several large companies with market entrance and localization strategies in Japan, and is himself a founder of CoinUp. Most recently, he has been focused on the Lightning Network and is building products with the team at Nayuta. We talk about how Bitcoin has trended in Japan over the past few years and really dive into product development and developer trends for Bitcoin in Asia, especially what is going on with Lightning development there. Current status, where he sees it going over the next 24 months, things that he's bullish on. Koji has a lot of expertise, and I hope you enjoy it. All right, Koji, good to talk to you, man. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
For sure. For those who aren't quite familiar with you yet, can you start with just a kind of a little background? You're famous where you are.
Sure. So I'm definitely not very famous outside Japan, I would say. So I'll explain my background a little bit. So I've been involved with Bitcoin since 2014. Before I went to college in the US, and after college, I went back to Japan and had a job there for a little bit. But I was looking for something I just wanted to do for myself and just, start my own thing, basically. And around the time, around 2013, 2014-ish, I just found Bitcoin. At the time, Bitcoin was very famous in Japan because of the Mt. Gox incident, which took place in Shibuya, Japan. So media basically portrayed Bitcoin as some kind of new scam, right? Just or how it is. And I also saw a press conference by Mark Karpeles, and he was like, he would speak in like kind of weird Japanese, and like media kind of portrays him as like, oh, he must be a scammer kind of thing, right? So I was like, oh, that's weird, and I don't really understand it. What is this like, mining money? Just sounds weird, right? So it was completely new for me. It was early 2014, but it just piqued my interest, and I did a little bit of research. And by then there was a lot of learning material in English. So I started reading and didn't understand initially, but sounded pretty interesting. Decentralized money doesn't belong to the government or central banks, etc. So I'm like, oh, it's interesting. And I started reading, and it's basically couldn't stop thinking about it, right? I mean, just what happens. And yeah, just started kind of buying some Bitcoins just to kind of test it out. At the time, it was difficult because there was no exchange after Mt. Gox. It was difficult to even get.
Yeah, man, bold time to be joining in Japan, for sure.
Yeah, but the funny thing is, everybody else was saying it's a scam. So I was like, oh, if everybody else says it must be bad or, a scam, there must be something there, right? So that's kind of how I got into it. And I basically quit everything else, quit my job, and just started working on it full time since 2014. And I was, at the time, there are very few Japanese Bitcoin people in the community in Japan. So I was one of early Bitcoin adopters in Japan, I would say.
Yeah. And so, and have kind of that early start, you kind of built that brand as someone to listen to about Bitcoin in Japan, from a personal media brand, really. But you've also worked on some cool projects, in those last few years outside of the content that you do.
This year, I'm mostly in Taiwan. I cannot really move here, but
for sure,
but
certain circumstances here now. But yeah, you're when I said you're famous in your Japanese circles, and then wherever you go in Asia, the Bitcoiners wherever you are know you. And so you're like a Bitcoiner's
right.
Bitcoiner over there.
I have a bunch of cool Bitcoin friends in all over Asia now. So that's a cool
thing. For sure. And then you've built a mobile wallet. It was kind of your first product in the space. And then can you kind of, I guess, share a little bit about some of the media that you do in Japan too?
So I do mostly two things now. One is product development. So I'm kind of a product manager type, I would say. I'm not a real developer or anything, but I love building products that are interesting and new. So after finding out about Bitcoin, I also got interested in the concept of tokens back in 2014. So around the time, tokens were still pretty new. It was a new concept. So at the time, Ethereum didn't exist, and Counterparty was the most functional protocol on top of Bitcoin. So we started working on Counterparty, and I started playing with it. I issued my own token for my blog. At the time, my blog, maybe 2-digit people read my blog, 6 people, 7 people, right? It's basically no one. So I thought, why don't I issue a token for my blog and just give out some tokens to my readers. And eventually I'll add some use cases paid content or events, etc. And they will just help me kind of spread the word and, expand the reach of my blog. And it kind of worked, actually. It was funny. I thought nobody wanted to accept my random token, right? But actually one guy said, I want to receive your token. Here's my address. And that's kind of how it started. And then that's how I got interested in tokens. But I realized mobile wallet was missing from the token ecosystem. At the time, there was only a web wallet. So my co-founder and I just started working on mobile token wallet. At the time, it was maybe one of the first kinds in the world. And that was definitely the first one to have a decentralized exchange built onto the mobile wallet. So that's kind of what we built in 2015, 16. Mm-hmm. And yeah, so we were doing a lot of tokens as well as tokenizing game assets. So it's basically using the same technology, but applying to gaming. So we're basically doing CryptoKitties before CryptoKitties became popular.
Yeah, 2 years before. And you were in Japan at that point. Can you walk us through a little bit? I was
still in Japan, right?
Yeah. Can you walk us through a little bit of kind of the story of Bitcoin in Japan? So you kind of started to step in right as Mt. Gox imploded, an interesting time too. The landscape of exchanges are kind of the main thing we think about when we think about Japan. I guess recently there are kind of some other interesting projects, some Lightning focused things, what you're doing now, for instance, Nayuta, and then Digital Garage over there. Mm-hmm. Can you walk us through, kind of help people understand what the development of Bitcoin, positives and negatives, has been like over the last 4 years?
Sure. So the Bitcoin perception started off very bad in Japan because of Mt. Gox. For vast majority of people, Bitcoin died there for the first time there. That was their first impression. And then, but there are still some people like myself who would just, work on Bitcoin and other projects. And then eventually the discussion about regulation of cryptocurrency in Japan grew in 2016. And in 2017, suddenly after regulation started, interest for Bitcoin from regular people exploded just suddenly. Before 2017, I would say interest was very, very minimal. But suddenly a lot of people woke up to this idea and just started flocking to the crypto market, basically. But since then, because most of people were just interested in speculation, and also Japan at the time was a hub for altcoin trading or shitcoin trading, basically. So a lot of people were just a lot of people are investing. I mean, China is the same. Asia has this weird, every country has, but at the time, Korea, Japan were definitely two of the countries that were leading altcoin trading, basically. So, but a lot of people ended up losing money. A lot of people invested in XRP. Actually, more and more people are aware of this now, but XRP is the second most popular cryptocurrency, cryptocurrency in Japan. And there's a lot of followers. And back in 2017, XRP price just exploded. And I think big part of it is a lot of money actually came from Japan, I would say. So, but that's kind of the mentality in Japan, just speculation on altcoin. A lot of people don't seem to care about the decentralized money or hedge to central banks, financial policy, etc. I would try to explain this kind of stuff to regular people, and most of them, 99% of people, are not even interested in this, and they don't really get it. that's still how it is mostly, I would say.
What kind of else are you seeing now? And maybe we can get into some of what Nayuta is doing and kind of
Sure.
how y'all are thinking about development of Bitcoin based out of Japan.
Sure. So Bitcoin community in Japan is very small, like I said. Just kind of same group of people for the past several years. Not many new people, I would say. A lot of speculators, though. But there are a few companies in Japan that are focused on Bitcoin, around Bitcoin development. Digital Garage is definitely one of them. Nayuta, I also work with Nayuta now. They are a notable Lightning Network company based in Fukuoka, Japan. So those two, and there's another one called Chaintope and a couple of other smaller ones like Free Sets and those companies. But the number is still pretty small, and most of the new blockchain startups and projects in Japan are either Ethereum focused, like DeFi kind of stuff, or enterprise blockchain, like private blockchain kind of stuff. But so maybe I can explain about what I'm working on now with Nayuta a little bit, or maybe later. It's kind of up to you.
We can do it now. Yeah, go for it.
No? Sure. So the project I'm working on now is it's called Nayuta Core. It's basically a mobile Bitcoin full node. So the concept is you can run a Bitcoin full node very easily on a regular Android phones. So I've been working on this with Nayuta since sometime this year, a few months ago, I would say. So we're still in closed beta, but if anyone's interested in running a full node and connecting that node to external wallets or Lightning apps and that kind of stuff, you can actually already test it. But the concept or the goal here is, so we have a lot of conversation about digital sovereignty or being trustless and that kind of stuff, right? And Bitcoiners care about this kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. Did you see a conversation between some Bitcoiners kind of very heated discussion about running a full node? Is it difficult for regular people, etc.? Did you see it? No? There's a
for sure.
debate So I would say it's still very difficult for regular people to run a full node. Or maybe even if it's possible, technically, there's no strong reason for them to run and maintain a full node on their laptop or on a Raspberry or something like that, right? Mm-hmm. It's too much work. And so what I'm trying to do with this project is basically make it easier and also make it more fun, or give them a reason to run a node on their phone. More specifically, for example, if you have a phone, you have access to more kinds of wallets, or if you connect the node to Lightning applications, apps, maybe you get some kind of special bonus within the app, or gamification and that kind of stuff. So I believe we have to make it easier as well as incentivize people to run full nodes. Otherwise, it's going to be very difficult to convince people to actually run their node and be more trustless. Use the Bitcoin in the right way, basically.
Yeah.
So
different incentives work, on different people just based on how they think about things. But we definitely agree that we have to be incentivizing it.
It's difficult. Still a concept.
And then so this in kind of the landscape of Lightning apps and mobile wallets, what HTCs they rolled out last year, and there's some others that are kind of working on this. Talk about kind of the maybe differentiators or how y'all are going about it.
Sure. HTC's Exodus project is probably better known, more famous. I think it's interesting what they're trying to do, but the issue with their approach is, well, first you have to buy a specific hardware HTC phone, which costs you $300 or something.
Yeah, $300-$400.
Do you have one, by the way? Exodus? No?
We have one at the office. I don't have one personally.
Oh, cool. Yeah, but it's actually kind of a regular phone, regular Android phone, but it's software
basic Android phone
built in, right? But you still have to buy it. So that's one hassle, one point that people kind of get discouraged. The other thing is you have to buy an external SD card, which costs you another $150 or something, because they maintain a full archival node, full node for 300 gigabytes. So that's another thing, just too expensive. And even if you run a full node on their phone, there's nothing else you can do. So that's how it is with XS now. I mean, I believe what they're trying to do is interesting, and it's definitely, I respect what they're doing with that. But Nayuta Core, on the other hand, it's free, and you can run the node on any Android wallet, any Android phone, basically, because we run a pruned node. We don't save all the blockchain data. So you need just only 5 gigabytes of storage space, and you can still run a pruned node that way. So it's free and doesn't really require that much storage space. And also you can connect the node to external wallets like Zeus and Zap. So we're going to provide more use cases for the node. So those are the 3 differences, I would say. But I'm based in Taiwan, and I'm also a HTC fan myself. So yeah, I own the HTC one. I actually love HTC. But,
cool. And what kind of stage is it in then? If when can people expect to be able to try this out?
Sure. So it's in closed beta. So we already have an working APK. So you can actually try it out on your phone now. Basic functionality is already there. So you can run a full node, connect the node to Zeus or Zap wallet, which is a kind of external, well-known Lightning wallet. But it's still very beta, and it's still a bit buggy. But we're going to have open beta pretty soon. But right now we're working on documentation and kind of educational stuff, because a lot of people don't seem to understand what we're doing, and it's still very new. So once we are ready, we'll probably release it in a couple weeks. That's kind of the target date, I would say.
Cool. And then you seem a little bit, I guess, disappointed in like the amount of development on Bitcoin in Japan as compared to other things. But I mean, really, you rolled off 4 or 5 that are focused on as their main thing, which I don't see as I see that as more than a lot of places. Can you talk a little bit more about the kind of just the situation for like Bitcoin development there? So the community in Japan, you say now is kind of small. Like in Korea, you have a Bitcoin meetup that's maybe a little bit small, maybe a little bit kind of tilted expat that what's his name runs.
Samsung or
right. Samsung, is it Samsung?
That's his last name. Ruben.
Sorry, Ruben. Yeah, Ruben.
Ruben. Samsung is his last name, I believe. Yeah, Ruben. Yeah.
Ruben. Yeah, Ruben was going to speak at Bitcoin 2020 this year. But so they're kind of have a community there, and he's obviously thinking about Lightning development. What's the kind of situation in Taiwan? Do you have much of a community there? Is it mostly like in your when you talk about these things? Is it what's the community look like?
So Taiwan, it's the same as in Japan and Korea. Bitcoin community here is very small, and Ethereum community is way bigger. Actually, Taiwan, I would say, is, along with Singapore, probably Taiwan is a hub for Ethereum development. So there's a lot of Ethereum developers and researchers in Taipei, and Vitalik comes to Taipei all the time, actually, to just meet them or just have events. So yes, unfortunately, the community here is also small. But I actually wanted to discuss this with you in more details. You interviewed some people from China and also someone from India, I believe. I wanted to ask you, why do you think Bitcoin's not as big as some other projects like Ethereum and private blockchains, etc., in Asia? Why is it not popular compared to like US, Europe? Is it some cultural thing involved, you think, or more kind of business decisions? Do you have any opinion on that?
Yeah. Let's say when you talk about not as popular, I'd say let's kind of bucket it out a little bit. Sure. If you look at where people are putting their money, if you look at where institutions are, from retail to institutions, if you look at where people are counting their profits, putting their money, I think it's still Bitcoin in all of these markets. I don't think.
True. That's true. That's mostly true. Yeah.
And so, I haven't heard of a ton of institutions, onboarding into Ethereum or anything else. It's all Bitcoin essentially in Hong Kong and China. Japan might be kind of an interesting case in that SBI has kind of latched on to some different things like XRP and like Bitcoin Cash in a way.
XRP
so I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I want to hear your thoughts on something like SBI and if there's anything else like that in Japan that is kind of
SBI, has influence, definitely.
Yeah. And then, but other than that, I think the money is going into Bitcoin. When we think about like interest in developing on top of something, in China, I think there has been kind of a concerted effort on the part of these projects with big marketing budgets to drive adoption, however real it is, in China and in places like Vietnam and Thailand. But I think the main indicator that I would look at is where is the money going, because that's going to drive kind of the long-term stickiness of it, I guess.
I agree. In Japan, Bitcoin is still the most popular asset, that's for sure. But I was talking more about kind of developer community where people are, on which platform people are working, building projects on. And people tend to choose Ethereum over Bitcoin. Or recently, it's like Polkadot, Cosmos, and all those things. I still don't really get it. When I got into this whole Bitcoin thing, Bitcoin was by far the most relevant, and it was all Bitcoin basically, right? In terms of market dominance as well as developers working on Bitcoin. But newer people, I've been having a very difficult time to convince them, not maybe convince them, but have them interested in working on Bitcoin projects like Lightning Network and some others. So, and it's more
do you think
typical in Asia, I would say.
Yeah. Do you think there's kind of a lack of outreach into these different markets for opportunities for Bitcoin development? You said that you talked to people that aren't as interested. I mean, there's definitely been a concerted marketing effort by, you mentioned Polkadot and Ethereum in all these countries to, bring on people building on top. I tend to think it's more of all right, the money's there now, the excitement about what's possible is there now, and that's going to kind of peter out once those things don't really come to fruition over time. But if there's just a lack of interest in Bitcoin as being something that's interesting to build on overall, I think that could be a trend that would be concerning.
Yeah, I guess you have a point. Like different types of developers. In the US, there's a lot in China as well. US, Europe, and China, there are some protocol developers who are interested in building protocols. They're capable of doing that. But in Korea, Japan, and those countries, development is mostly around applications. And it's difficult to build applications on Bitcoin, at least so far. I mean, I'm hoping Lightning Network will kind of change the dynamics a little bit and we can attract more application developers now, even from Asia. But I've tried to build on Bitcoin through counterparty application. It was difficult, right? I mean, everything was still kind of new. And we had a block size debate back in 2017 and the transaction fee just skyrocketed, and it made almost all of our use cases very, very difficult to use for token applications, right? You would have to pay like, a couple of dollars to move a Pepe Cash digital collectible or something, right?
Sure.
A Rare Pepe collectible. So it kind of killed the momentum and killed some certain use cases. And now tokens are kind of back to Bitcoin a little bit on Liquid and also RGB protocol on Lightning Network. So it's a token protocol on Lightning. So I'm hoping more applications will be also built on Bitcoin in 2 or 3 years. It doesn't happen overnight, but that's my hope. So I'm hoping that will happen and just change the landscape in Asia as well. But so far, most of the application developers, because they are either not interested in or they are not capable of working on protocols. So they are just going to different places, I would say. I think that's one of the big factors in Asia, I would say.
It sounds like there's more activity around Lightning development in Japan than there is in Taiwan and Korea now.
Right. As far as I know, there's not much going on in terms of Lightning Network in Korea. I actually tried to help organize a Lightning Network hackathon in Korea. Timing really didn't work. But I don't really know if there's any legit Lightning Network community in Korea outside few individuals who are just working on that. Taiwan, it's about the same. I also tried to organize a hackathon, Lightning hackathon in Taiwan as well, just volunteer. But then COVID happens and everything's kind of okay. Just wait like couple more months and see, kind of things. But Japan, there are some companies, some developers, Lightning developers. We had a large hackathon in Tokyo a couple years ago, I think. So compared to Taiwan and Korea, there's more happening in Japan in terms of Lightning, but compared to US and Berlin, it's very, very small still.
Yeah. And then and what y'all are building, you mentioned Zap you mentioned wanting to do something mobile so that you can connect to different apps that are, also already on your phone. What do you think is interesting that's out there now? What kind of things are you excited about maybe being built over the next year?
Yeah, that's a couple of things. One of the things I'm very interested in and active in the community is Sphinx Chat. Have you heard of WhatsApp? I think it's called WhatsApp. It's basically a messaging layer on top of Lightning Network. So Lightning Network has its own routing network, and usually you use the routing network to make a payment, right? Send and receive payments on Lightning. But you can also extend the feature to messaging and chatting, basically, right? So Sphinx Chat uses Lightning Network and basically building Telegram on Lightning Network. So that's kind of the idea. And it's cool that, it's encrypted, and also Lightning payment is very closely integrated onto the chat. So for example, one thing you can do is I can create my own group. I actually have a group for my YouTube channel on Sphinx Chat. It's cool. Only 20 people. They're it's still the third or fourth largest Sphinx Chat group because not many people are using it. But what I can do is I can create a group, and every time the participant or members in the group chat or send text in my group, it says 3 Satoshis are paid to me or something like that. So it just gives me more room for monetization, or I can come up with something interesting. So if I'm a famous influencer, for example, maybe I can charge my members in the group 5 Satoshis every time I just send something, right? Just say something or post pictures or something like that. Let's say I'm a famous idol or something, right? And people are happy to join my group and just get charged 5 micropayment Satoshis every time they get my picture or something like that. So that's very interesting. And I'm hoping to connect Narita Core to those type of applications in the future. So instead of trusting Sphinx Chat and renting server from them, you can run their own node and connect that to the texting application, basically. So it's more private and also more trustless. So that's kind of the vision. So I'm trying to connect that. If you have a node, you'll be able to do a lot more things in the Lightning Network ecosystem. So that's one. The other thing is gaming. Gaming is definitely interesting. There's a Minkgox virtual conference yesterday. So it's basically a Lightning Network gaming virtual conference. And Christian Moss, who's my very good friend in the Bitcoin community, also we work on Narita Core together. By the way, Christian, you don't know Christian, I guess, but he lived in Japan from 2015 to 19-ish. And we worked on the previous projects together, worked on the mobile token wallet together, gaming together. So now we're working on Narita Core together, but he's in charge of this Lightning Gaming Conference. And it's cool. There's a lot of interesting Lightning games. One is called Bitcoin Bounce. It's just a simple game. You can just play the game, and just every time you play, you get some points, and you can withdraw some satoshis
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So
Cool.
it's simple, but it's pretty effective. But I think there's a lot to do, lot more you need to build for Lightning Network to be accessible for more casual crypto users. Right now, it's very difficult to set up non-custodial wallets, non-custodial Lightning wallets. We have to tell them how this works, what is inbound capacity, etc., which is very new for most people. So a lot of things to do, but I'm pretty optimistic where things are going with Lightning, and there's a lot more interesting applications nowadays.
Do you think Japan is a market that's ripe in terms of like those gaming use cases and like influencer chat room types of use cases? Do you see Japan as like, is part of the reason that you're building this in Japan because you think it's a market that will be interested in those kinds of things first?
Yes, I think Japan would still remain as a large enough, attractive market. So if you are a Bitcoin company or Lightning application, you definitely want to try to also enter the Japanese market as well, because there are just some users, definitely number of users. Although there are not many developers, there are some people, including myself, who are interested in just playing with Lightning apps. So yeah, I'm hoping more people will be interested in Lightning, but right now it's mostly as users as opposed to builders. So, and there's a huge gap there.
Well, you need more users than builders at the end of the day.
Well, but we have way more users than builders now in Japan, so that's the problem. So
yeah, all right,
let's see.
So let's get it to a better ratio. The other builders that are there, can you talk a little bit about Digital Garage, kind of
Sure.
how important that group is in Japan, what they're doing?
Digital Garage, they organize Scaling Bitcoin conference, and they're very well known globally in the Bitcoin community. They also work with Blockstream for different projects. They also have Nicolas Dorier of BTC Pay Server and some other strong developers. But interesting thing is, Digital Garage is not really well connected in the Japanese Bitcoin community. I mean, they are. I mean, I know them, and I'm personal friends with Nicolas and others from DG Lab, Digital Garage, but they seem to be more interested in elsewhere, like global operation to me. And they don't really have very close relationship with other Japanese companies and projects. But yeah, so not many people actually know about Digital Garage working on Bitcoin, actually. Probably not.
Okay, interesting.
So that's kind of an interesting paradox. For example, Nicolas is very famous in the Bitcoin community because of his work on BTC Pay Server, but I don't think typical Japanese users or even builders type companies are not really aware of Nicolas living in Japan. And that's kind of a funny thing. It's like a rock star developer in the global Bitcoin community, but not very famous in Japan. So
yeah. One kind of touched on, or I guess we touched on kind of Bitcoin crypto media in Asia has, for the most part, tilted towards kind of crypto coverage over Bitcoin coverage in terms of the volume of stuff that they do. What's that like in Japan? What's the you're kind of a personal media brand. What else do you see of like coverage of Bitcoin in Japan in terms of the mainstream media and kind of the niche crypto media?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. Mainstream media, they cover a lot of Bitcoin news because they don't really understand any other things, right? Ethereum and others, because they just only talk about, Bitcoin price going up, or like, some famous people say something about Bitcoin and Bitcoin halving, that kind of stuff. They don't really talk about kind of newer things like Lightning Network or DeFi and other things. So, but more crypto-focused media seem to write more about non-Bitcoin stuff to me. market stuff, altcoin, like, some like XRP, Ripple, DeFi, and all those things. So there's content is different for mainstream media and more crypto focused media. But mainstream media is mostly about Bitcoin, and it's the same in Japan as well.
Yeah. And then back real quick to like applications, Lightning or otherwise, in Japan. The stuff that you see that is interesting, like you said, Berlin and the US, seems like more stuff is being built here. What are some things, could you point out anything and say, hey, I think this would really work well with the Japanese market? Maybe there should be, a Japanese focus either from this team in terms of having a localized version, or just the idea in general should be taken over in Japan. Any thought, thing come to the top of your head for that?
Yeah, that's a very specific question, but that's an interesting question. I love it. That's part of what I do. I help company localize in Japan as well. So, but for, let's say, Lightning Network. So if you build a Lightning Network application, I would say the market is still too small. But let's say hardware wallet, for example, something like that. One thing you definitely need to have, which is probably the same in any other Asian country, is you have to have decent translation. Because not many people in Japan are very good at English, right? So just because you have decent English, Japanese translation, they would appreciate it. Like, oh, they seem to care about us, sort of, right? That's one. Also, you have to have a strong social media presence, especially on Twitter. Twitter is the biggest social media in Japan, most popular in the crypto community in Japan. So if you want to enter the Japanese market, you definitely should create a Japanese Twitter account and just be active, just interact with Japanese community people. In terms of whether you need to change your product features or not, I would say no in general. But you just need to have good translation and communication on social media. Also, if it's hardware wallet, you definitely need to work with local people, and it's probably the same in China as well. Would you agree? Do you think so? Say if you're American and trying to enter the Chinese market, or me trying to promote my product in China, I have no idea what I need to do right now. I would probably have to work with local people. It's very difficult for me to do that as a non-Chinese, as a foreigner, promoting my stuff. What do you think? It's the same in China as well, right?
Yeah, I would agree for sure. I think there's more of a probably moat around launching something in China and Japan than there is certainly in like from the US to a European country.
Well, one of the common strategies is you just work with local. Say if you're a Lightning Network company, just work with local Lightning Network company to just work on some, joint project or something like that. And that usually does well. It's different small things. Some of the things it's really hard to explain. And it depends on what kind of business you have, but you don't really need to do too much. You don't need to change your product or anything. You just need to have good translation and good communication are mostly two of the most things I would say. Other than that, any other Japanese specific tendencies, huh? We like games. We like gaming, definitely. Also, we like weird things. So I'll give you one example. When Rare Pepe collectibles came out, just out of nowhere, basically. But it was mostly like kind of US thing. It has some political connotation as well. But for Japanese people, it's just a weird frog, right? There's no political association for us, right? So when Rare Pepe came out, I thought Japanese people don't really care about that because we don't know that stuff. But when I started working on my wallet and just, dealing with Rare Pepe collectibles, Japanese crypto users loved it. They loved that shit. So that was interesting. So they like some weird things and collecting things and games in general. If you have sort of a weird project, like something like Rare Pepe or kind of new weird angle, it might sell. Usually, it sells better in Japan. It's especially for niche people. and you want to target those niche users first. So that's what I would say. I was surprised how people loved Rare Pepe the Frog. It's just weird. It just happens.
Yeah. All right. So niche things. Outside of just Lightning a bit, we talked about kind of exchanges and the trend there in Japan, kind of the regulatory situation. Any other kind of Bitcoin related products that have kind of kicked off, I guess, outside? You've seen a lot of companies focused on borrowing and lending now out here and in China. What's the market like for that in Japan? Is it pretty heavily regulated? Is it are these exchanges starting to dip their toes into those things like they are in right. China and whatnot?
So borrowing, lending, like something like BlockFi?
Like BlockFi, yeah. Yeah.
Actually, I personally know someone who just are thinking of doing something similar in Japan. So I think it's definitely coming. It's still not really there because regulation's pretty tight in Japan. But I expect to see something like BlockFi in Japan as well in the future. And but it's still not really strong there yet. But it's coming, I would say. Yeah,
for sure. What when you're following Lightning, being based over there, what are the kind of things what are kind of the groups that you're talking in, things that you're reading? What's the best way for people over there to stay up to date? And is there like a something that like media should be doing a better job of in terms of connecting the communities for Bitcoin development between Asia and the West?
So what can we do better to educate?
You're an English speaker, so you're kind of in between in terms of having access.
Translations, one. Not many people here speak decent, very good English. Is one that will probably help, but it's a lot of kind of dirty work. Translation takes a lot of time and work, but usually it's volunteer work, so that's kind of difficult sometimes. The other thing is, so say for example, MintGox, it's a gaming virtual conference, right? They just do it in like late night in Asia. It's like 3 a.m. or 2 a.m. Just do it in Asia time once and let's see what happens, I guess. The market is still very small, but try to accommodate the time difference and cultural difference a little bit, and we might see more interest growing in Japan or maybe in Korea and some other countries as well. So but it's difficult. I mean, I've been trying as well, at least to some degree, but it's difficult. I would definitely not say I'm an expert in Lightning Network as technology. I'm more interested in like product management, marketing, that kind of stuff. So I think I have to do myself, for example, do a better job to kind of, convince people like myself to work on Lightning and build something interesting. But it takes time, and it's still very early days in Lightning Network, and nobody has figured out how to build sustainable business on Lightning yet. So once we figure it out, I'm pretty sure more and more people will just kind of try to emulate that. So, but that hasn't happened yet. So we have to wait for that, I guess. Otherwise, it's going to be, whether I work hard on translating stuff, the transition won't really happen that quickly, I'm afraid.
Yeah. So it sounds like...
Let me add one more thing. But something like, Sphinx Chat or MintGox, something that you can actually use with Lightning, those are very, very important. And that's slowly happening now. So I think that's very encouraging.
Yeah, cool. What's the Bitcoin community in Japan of users? You kind of mentioned being bigger than the builders. What does that community look like compared to like the Bitcoin Cash community now? Obviously, Roger's been there for a while and has put a lot of support behind building that out and whatnot. What does it look like? Like places that accept Bitcoin versus Bitcoin Cash, like meetups getting together. What does it look like?
It's funny that every time I, get featured on this kind of interview or podcast, everybody asks me, "Oh, I heard Bitcoin Cash is big in Japan, etc." Right? Not really. I mean,
we got to ship an air to down.
I mean, it kind of self-destructed sort of, right? And Bitcoin Cash community is split into BSV. So now they're kind of fighting against each other, sort of. So in Japan, there was a kind of larger Bitcoin Cash community in Tokyo, but it's just split in half, basically, into BSV and BCH, right? It's kind of a nasty split. And I mean, just look at the market, the price and hash rate, everything. It just, Bitcoin Cash and BSV are just trending downwards, and it's getting more and more irrelevant, in my opinion. I mean, there are some supporters still in Japan as well. Just for me, it's like, it's just whatever you want. I mean, I'm not really stopping you from doing that, but in general, very few people care about Bitcoin Cash or believe in it anymore, even in Japan. And maybe Roger says something else, but again, Roger's pretty detached from the Japanese-speaking Japanese community, right? It's not very big in that. Earlier days, he was definitely like more important in Japan because it was mostly around English-speaking community and expats, right? But that has changed a long time ago. So I would say this question, I get asked over and over, but it's not really the case anymore, I would say.
Hey, that's what I like to hear. All right. Right. And then on the exchanges side, which you do have, and you've also kind of done some research, and I've seen a couple of interesting talks that you've done on some exchange data and how it kind of breaks down around Asia. Maybe can you share some kind of broad trends that you've seen, just kind of things that you've picked up in some of that research?
Sure. So let me explain about the market and a little bit about regulation in Japan, because they're definitely connected. So the research I did, hold on. Before that, back in 2017, where we had a huge bubble, altcoin bubble or Bitcoin as well, Japan was one of the leading countries in terms of trading volume. In fact, Bitflyer in 2017 had about 70% of the trading volume in the world, because their derivative perpetual swap market was very popular before BitMEX. And a lot of strong Japanese traders were trading on Bitflyer. But since then, there's a huge hack incident that happened in Japan. CoinCheck, one of the largest exchanges in Japan, got hacked in March 2018. March 2018. And then since then, everything kind of went downhill. Regulation became more strict. So exchanges really couldn't do kind of aggressive marketing strategies anymore. And also Bitflyer sort of messed up on compliance, and they stopped new signups. So volume started drying up and just migrated to BitMEX and Binance and all those different foreign exchanges. So Japan, since 2017, slowly started losing market share and trading volume and relevance. Back in 2017, we had a lot of ICO projects that came to Tokyo to the meetup and all those events, and they're like, hey, just, I'm working on this ICO project and etc. Can you help me just market in Japan, etc. No, but it was crazy in 2017 and 18. We rarely see that in Japan anymore because market became kind of smaller compared to the US and Korea and China through Binance. So that's the general trajectory in Japan. And part of the reason is the hack incident and regulation becoming more and more strict. And recently, Japan's actually delever, so they lower the leverage ratio to 2 times now. It used to be 20 times, and they lowered it to 8 times, and now it's only 2. So how do you compete against Binance and BitMEX and all those exchanges when you have only 2 times leverage, right? Binance offer 100 times leverage. So yeah, because of regulation and certain series of hack incidents, Japan just started losing volume, and that's the general trend. I think Japan is kind of continues to slide in that regard, so that kind of sucks. A lot of people in 2017 said Japan's a great country where you have clear regulation, etc., right? and I was one of the very few people who were saying that not really. If you look at the regulation closely, it was too restrictive, and it would give a lot of space for decision for regulator. So they can basically change rules as they wish because everything is still new, right? So I was kind of worried about it, and unfortunately, everything that happened after 2018 in Japan just doesn't really look good for the market as well. So Japan used to have like more than 70% of market share in fiat Bitcoin versus fiat currency market volume. Now it only has like, I did a bit of research myself and tried to filter out fake volume, but I believe Japan right now has about 10%. USDT Tether, and a lot of it must be from China. Tether has about like, I don't have data now, but probably like 50%, mostly Binance. This is all spot trading volume, but so yeah, Japan was in a very good position, but they basically lost it all. So that's why, that's one of the reasons I kind of left Japan, because nothing interesting was happening, and I'd rather be in a different environment and just challenge myself, or like get closer to China is more interesting, probably Chinese speaking environment. Yeah,
interesting. And then I guess in that kind of progression, you had you talk about regulation being a little bit too hard in your view. You had a number of licenses that were said a number of licenses were going to be available. You had a lot of outside exchanges trying to enter the Japanese market by acquiring exchanges that already had these licenses, or getting some of the few remaining. What's it look like now? Is it still Bitflyer in the lead? Is it
right? In terms of trading volume, Bitflyer is still leading. They actually, a couple weeks ago, they started doing TV commercial again, which is actually a kind of a big deal in Japan, because once they start doing TV commercial, regular consumers are like, "Oh, that's cool," it's relevant again, it's cool again, because it's on TV, kind of thing. So maybe we'll have a bit of increased trading volume from Japan now, but Bitflyer is still the largest exchange in terms of trading volume, and their Bitcoin trading volume is way bigger than any other exchanges now. Probably they have like 80% of market share.
The kind of fake volume in Japan versus Korea and China. Any thoughts on like how that trended over kind of through the bull market and trends now?
Very easy. Much less fake volume in Japan because it's more highly regulated. So it's more risky for exchanges to engage in something like that. And my research also supported that. So less fake volume in Japan. And also number of exchanges are very much smaller than that in Korea and in China. So the data in Japan is more or less trustworthy. And there's also a industry association. They occasionally publishes official data they collect from exchanges. So trading volume, popular crypto, etc. So you can trust that data, I would say. So there's that. Korea, there used to be much more fake volume before, but seems it's getting a little bit better. So getting a little bit healthier. China, I have no idea, but I would assume it's mostly fake.
Top three, would you say? Gotcha.
Top three: Bitflyer, Bitbank, and CoinCheck. In terms of trading volume, Liquid probably has larger volume than Bitbank and CoinCheck. But like I said, their volume might be faked. I'm not sure how much. Also, from what I understand, talking to traders and my personal observation, Bitbank and CoinCheck are much more relevant in the community. They seem to have better, their awareness is just bigger for them. So Liquid, it's kind of weird. They have data suggests they have a lot of volume, but I don't know any legit, I mean, there must be some users, of course, but I don't know many Liquid users. I know a lot of Bitflyer users, for example, personally as well. But I don't see
Hey,
many
what
people
were those
who say,
BitFlyer commercials, by the way? Was it like a
oh,
pretty traditional finance looking commercial, or was it like kind of Bitcoin
no,
focused?
no. It's like a very cute Japanese idol, like, oh, it's just cryptocurrency kind of thing.
Okay. Interesting.
That
All right.
sells well.
Gotcha. Well,
Yeah.
always interesting. And then last question, last thing, more of a fun one, a recommendation. So we end each show with a recommendation. Can be a movie, can be a place to eat, food, cultural item, anything. You can go either Taiwan or Japan here.
Okay, first, let's talk about movie real quick. So I watched V for Vendetta for the second time. The first time I watched it like a long time ago, like 10 or 15 years ago, something like that. But I rewatched it recently, and it's much more relevant now. Have you watched the movie? Have you heard of it?
I haven't watched it in probably 10 years, yeah.
Right. If you watch it now, it's actually very interesting. It's sort of describing what's happening now in a way, because the government in the movie was using the virus as an excuse to kind of lock people down, etc. And also kind of interesting overlaps as well. So I was forgetting about it, but I rewatched it and I was like, oh, this is kind of interesting. So if you haven't recently watched it, I recommend watching that movie. It's sort of interesting now. It's more interesting now, actually, I would say. Place to go, Taiwan. Taiwan's definitely a place to be.
Where are you in Taiwan?
It's a secret. Well, not really. But
I like
it's a rural area of Taiwan, not Taipei.
Cool.
Yeah.
We're not trying to dox your address here.
Yeah. But Taiwan's definitely interesting. If you want to go to Japan, Fukuoka. So I talked about Nayuta a little bit. So Nayuta is based in Fukuoka. Fukuoka is sort of a kind of tech hub in the southern Japan. So if you're interested in visiting Japan in the future, sometime in the future, I recommend going to Fukuoka as well. It's a tech hub is one. The other thing is a lot of good food, and it's cheaper than stuff in Tokyo. So Fukuoka is kind of a nice place to visit, I would say.
I like it. Sounds good, man. Thanks for the time. Late night for you.
No, it was fun. Thank you for having me.
Quick reminder, all of the content in this episode is for informational purposes only. You should not construe any such information or other material as legal, tax, investment, financial, or other advice. Nothing contained in this presentation constitutes a solicitation, recommendation, endorsement, or offer by BTC Media, the Let's Talk Bitcoin podcast network, or any third-party service provider to buy or sell any securities or other financial instruments.